Hello, my name is Bill Sullivan. I'm a professor here at the IU School of Medicine in Indianapolis, and I'm going to tell you how to write a killer abstract in just 10 sentences. Now, this is based on an approach that I devised for giving research seminars, but the same principle applies. So I want to try to convince you that telling science in the context of a mystery dinner theater is a really effective way to get your question and results across to your audience. So the key thing to remember is that you're the server in this approach. So pretend you are serving up your audience a really delicious meal, and it's going to be in 3 courses. The first one is the appetizer, which whets the audience's appetite for your story. So the basic message you want to get across with the appetizer component of this approach is, why are you studying this phenomenon? You basically want to explain the mystery to your audience. The second part is the main course. Now you'll note in this picture here, it's a very elegant and simple presentation. It doesn't look like the all-you-can-eat buffet where people pile stacks of food on the plate. In other words, you don't want to overstuff your audience with information that detracts from the main story you're trying to tell. The key data that you present are going to be the clues that reveal insight into the mystery. Use those stunning visuals like this photo if it's appropriate. They always capture great attention. And then finally, there's the dessert. You want to leave your audience satisfied. The best way to do that is to discuss how your findings help solve the mystery. So again, this is a really good formula that I use for research seminars, but you can adapt it for writing abstracts for conferences. So the first 2 sentences of your abstract set the stage. What is the scientific question that keeps you up at night, and why? What's so interesting about it to you? Describe that key problem that you're investigating and how it's relevant to a medical or environmental problem. In other words, why should people care about this work that you're doing? The stage that you set should draw attention to a gap in our knowledge that you're attempting to fill with your research. Now, this third sentence is one of the most important because it's where you clarify very directly the mystery that you're investigating. So sentence number 3 is focused hypothesis. It's framed as a question, and this represents the mystery your study aims to address. It should be an intuitive question that arises from the background information you provided in the first few sentences. And if the reader cannot guess what your hypothesis is going to be after reading your introduction, you haven't set the stage well enough. So go back and work on that if that's the case. Now, sentences 4 to 8 are the main body of the abstract, and they describe your detective work, which can be years worth of work that you have to distill down into a few sentences. But the upshot is that this section has to describe the experimental effort that you use to gather the clues relating to the mystery you explained. So you can explain this like a case that Sherlock Holmes would give to Watson, concisely mentioning the rationale and the techniques used to find the clues. You want to deliver the clues with precision. In other words, don't be vague. Here's an example to illustrate what I mean by that. Some people might say a statement such as this: transcript levels were greatly altered in the knockout. Now that leaves your audience wondering a lot of things about your work. How many transcripts? How were they altered? By how much? So instead you can write, we determined that 75% of transcripts increased 2-fold or more in the knockout. It's just a few more words, but it sends so much more valuable information. You can see the difference. Another helpful hint for sentences 4 through 8: do not interrupt the flow of your compelling story with distracting tangents. This is really important. we seem to have an urge to just spill out every experiment we've ever done. You don't need to mention that. Only mention the ones that provide the most important clues needed to answer the question. Now, sentence 9 is the climactic sentence. It's solving the mystery, the dessert portion, if you will. This is the sentence that the audience has been waiting for. Now, if you've laid out the clues carefully, they should be able to deduce the conclusion for themselves. And this sentence should state clearly how your findings contribute to solving the mystery you posed in the introduction. Now, I'll hasten to add, you don't need to solve the mystery completely in order to make a compelling story. Again, more often than not, we're just contributing a piece of the puzzle to the overall mystery, and that's great. That's how science works. Now, finally, sentence 10 is the so what. It's the final sentence, and it should remind the reader why your findings are important. You want to mention how your results may help treat disease, address an environmental concern, or increase our understanding of a biological process. Some final thoughts and helpful hints on writing those killer abstracts. You basically want to make sure that you're telling a story, framing your study as a compelling mystery that almost anyone can get interested in. As with all good stories, use an alluring title to capture the audience's attention. Keep it simple, avoid the jargon, and eliminate unnecessary words. If you have to use some jargon, keep it at a minimum, and be sure to define what it is right at the beginning. Include relevant keywords in your abstract. Many people use these keywords to scan the abstract book to find out which talks and posters they want to attend at the meeting. And finally, have others read your abstract before you submit it. If they are not intrigued, I would say you need to go back to the kitchen and cook up a better dish. So I hope these tips serve you well and help you to write a fantastic abstract that is going to attract attention at the next meeting you attend. If you have any questions or concerns, I would love to hear about your feedback. Please feel free to contact me through email or Twitter at the addresses shown. Thank you very much, and good luck with your abstracts.